Tonight, the FBI is working to convince 4 armed protesters to leave a federal wildlife refuge in Oregon. 3 more protesters were arrested today, and authorities have released new video that shows the shooting of one of the leaders of the standoff, LaVoy Finicum. Al Jazeera's Catherine Barrett is in Burns, Oregon. And Catherine, what does the video show happened during Tuesday's arrests and the shooting of Finicum?
Well, Antonio, as you said, it's the fatal shooting of Robert LaVoy Finicum. The video was taken from one of 2 aircraft that were flying, FBI aircraft flying over the scene. That traffic stop netted 7 arrests and, as we've seen, 1 death. It's the first preliminary explanation of what happened that day, on that Tuesday. The first thing that you see on the video is federal officers tailing 2 cars full of occupant leaders. They were on their way to a neighboring town for a meeting. The FBI got wind of this and was tailing them. The white car is in front, a dark Jeep behind. At the first traffic stop, the Jeep was pulled over. It stopped. The white car continues. 3 occupants, including Ammon Bundy, exit the Jeep and are arrested without incident, it's important to say. Now, a short while later, the white car stops. 1 out of the 4 people in the white car gets out with his hands up, also taken into custody with no violence. Then the white car, for nearly 4 minutes, just sits still with its remaining 3 occupants inside. And finally, it races off until it hits an FBI roadblock. The car does not slow down, narrowly misses some spike strips made to stop it, veers around, nearly takes out an officer and ends up in a snowbank. It's at that point that Finicum gets out of the car, appears to walk away from the car with his arms raised at his sides at least, but FBI points out twice in that video he appears to reach down across his body towards his jacket pocket, a jacket pocket in which they say they later found a loaded 9mm semi-automatic handgun. It is at that point, when he reaches down, that he is shot fatally. And law enforcement spent the next 10 minutes using flashbangs and something akin to pepper spray to induce the other 3 occupants of the white car to get out. They did get out with no further violence, despite 3 arms found in the car, and were subsequently arrested. Antonio?
What more did the FBI have to say about the operation and the ongoing standoff?
Well, first, they really wanted to share this video, they said, in the interest of transparency and, most importantly, to counter other accounts of what happened that they say were inaccurate at best and inflammatory at worst. Second, they say they really wanted to show the public that the use of lethal force here was both prudent and measured and justified.
First, that we did everything we could to bring this situation to a peaceful resolution. We waited a very long time, that we were able to get 1 individual out of that truck safely back and in custody, and that for a period of almost 4 minutes, while commands were being given, the occupants of that vehicle refused to comply with those commands. That law enforcement showed great restraint.
The FBI has said that actions have consequences, and they, in this case, say that it was reckless action by Mr. Finicum that ended up with the ultimate consequence of his death. Antonio?
Catherine Barrett in Burns, Oregon. Thank you.
Another big story we're tracking tonight. The FBI has released new developments in the standoff in eastern Oregon. 4 people are still occupying the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge. We're also seeing some new images of the deadly shooting of an armed occupier earlier this week. The FBI put out video play-by-play of the moments that led to the deadly shooting of Oregon protester LaVoy Finicum. Now, aerial footage shows a white truck there with several of the protesters inside, including Finicum and Ammon Bundy's brother, Ryan. After the truck sped off, it smashes right here into a snowbank, trying to avoid a blockade and a spike strip, barely missing an FBI agent. Finicum gets out of the driver's seat, and officers say when he eventually reached for something in his pocket, that's when they shot him. They tell us in that pocket was a loaded 9mm pistol. About 30 seconds after the shooting, officers set off some flashbangs to disorient the other occupants of the truck. Bundy and several others got out, and they were arrested. Now, Finicum had previously said he would not go back to prison and that he would, quote, rather die than be caged, and I've lived a good life. Again, authorities also found 3 loaded guns in the truck, 2 rifles and 1 pistol. The FBI believes there are, again, still 4 protesters at that refuge tonight.
Law enforcement in Oregon released some video tonight of Tuesday's deadly confrontation involving members of an anti-government group camped out on a wildlife refuge. And you can see their speeding SUV trying to avoid a law enforcement roadblock, nearly hitting an officer. LaVoy Finicum gets out of the SUV and then confronts the officers. The FBI says the video proves Finicum was reaching for his gun, found in the pocket of his clothes after troopers opened fire and killed him.
He did have a loaded 9mm semi-automatic handgun in that pocket. At this time, OSP troopers shot Finicum.
The FBI says tonight this situation is far from over. 4 activists are still occupying the refuge.